All right, first one. Y equals mx plus b. This is like our starting point for any question that's about something linear, right? Even if we end up not using that, that's where you start to make sure you know the number that's next to the x is your slope. The other number is always your y-intercept. If it's a word problem, what's the y-intercept? B, yes, but in a word problem, it's called the starting point, initial value, right? So if I started with $30 in the bank, the equation is going to end with what? Plus 30. You with me? If I started by spending $30 on materials, the y-intercept is going to be negative 30. So just make sure you know the difference between on a graph and a word problem. So on a graph, simple. The first dot you make, once you see the y is by itself, you can use this method. If the y is not by itself, you can get it by itself and then use this method as well. So over here, once the y is by itself, grab the y-intercept and mark it right on the y-axis. So that says plus 2 at the end, which means our first dot goes right on the y-axis on positive 2. And now rise over run is your slope. See how everything's positive? Everything's positive. It's up and right. If it's negative, it will be down and right. In this class, never go left. So up 3, right 4 from that original mark that we made. Once you have 2 dots, that's all you need to draw a line. So draw your line. So far, so good? So then the rest will be less explanation, more solving, just doing, because this is pretty simple. Negative 5, and the is the y-intercept, and the slope is negative 2 over 1. So it's down 2, right 1. Try to bring your lines all the way to the edge. Notice, I did not put numbers in my table. If I wanted to, I can literally create numbers here. 0, 4, 8, 12. Plug them in and solve. Why do you think I use 0, 4, 8, 12 on that if I was going to make a table? Because that is your denominator. Which means if you use those numbers, you get no what? No decimals, no fractions. You with me? But we don't need to because we learned a better way to graph. You with me? Nobody's there checking your method. If you can do that, equally as good as the method they want you to use. All right, last one over here. This normally, right, you would subtract x from both sides, bring down negative 3y equals negative 6x plus 12. So far, so good? Now you divide everything by your coefficient, which is negative 3. And that gives you y equals 2x minus 4. So far, so good? Now I can use that to graph. But there's a better way. I showed you the work in case 6 and 3 don't go into 12. But in this case, the 6 and 3 go into 12. Yes, so the easiest method is what I've taught you in class. Cover the y. 6 times what equals positive 12? 2. That's your x-intercept. Now do the opposite. Cover the y, or cover the x. Negative 3 times what will give you positive 12? Negative 4. That will be your y-intercept. That gave me 2 dots without doing any work. Just as good as doing all this work and graphing it because it lands in the same spot. So far, so good? All right, let's get through this page together. And then we move on to inequality graphing, which is the same steps, but we shade. So over here, where does my first dot go? Negative 3. What is my movement from that dot? 2 up, 1 to the right. So once I do that, it's all I need. Now let's say you're not good at drawing straight lines. What could you do? Put more dots. So up 2, right 1, up 2, right 1, up 2, right 1. If you follow the slope pattern, you can put more dots and give yourself a nice line to go through. Luckily on the EOC, it's a mouse and a computer, so the line's going to be perfectly straight. You with me? Once you put 2 in there, it'll make the whole line across the board. All right, so number 2 here in the center. Positive 5 is your y-intercept. What is your slope? Negative 2 over 5. Now, that negative doesn't stay next to the fraction. It belongs somewhere. Always belongs on top. So that's just like saying negative 2 over 5. So the movement is now going to be what? Very good. Down 2, right 5, and that's it. If they gave you 47 questions in the EOC like this, I'm positive you'll all get 5s. Right? These are easy questions to do over and over again. Especially once you do one correctly, you fly through them. All right? Over here, does 5 and 10 go into 10? Since they do, we can use a shortcut. So let's use it. If I cover the negative 10y, that whole term with the y on it, 5 times what equals positive 10? 2. That would be my x-intercept. Now I'm going to do the exact opposite. I'm going to cover the x value to find the y-intercept. Negative 10 times what would be positive 10? Negative 1. That would be your y-intercept. And you can draw your line. So far, so good? Pretty simple. I didn't touch a table because I don't need to. I know a better method. If you use a table, it's okay. So far, so good? All right, this first page, I'll do with you, and then I'll let you do the one behind it on your own. See if you can get the hang of it. All right? More importantly, if you don't get it, make sure you ask me the question. I'm here for a reason, to answer your questions. So, over here, graphing it is the same way. Negative 3 is still my y-intercept. The slope there is positive 2 over 1. So my movement, up 2, right 1. Now, before I draw my line, I have to look at the inequality symbol. If you have the little stick underneath, then the line has to be a normal, solid line. If you don't, like on this question, the line has to be what? Dashed or dotted. Dashed. So far, so good? All right, let's do it. So let's graph negative 3, up 2, right 1. And now we know it's going to be a solid line, so I can do my line. Now, this is the main part. The only part that's tricky about this is the shading. Is it open or closed to your y? Closed. That's what tells you that you shade below, because closed is less than. So you just shade below this line, and that's it. On the EOC, you would click that region, the whole thing shades up. If you want to make a dashed line, you click the line, it dashes it. Click it again, it makes it solid. Pretty self-explanatory for the program. All right? Notice these are the same equations. I did it for a reason. So you see that the graphing is the same. We're just going to shade differently or make it a solid versus dashed line. So over here, positive 5 is my y-intercept. My slope is negative 2 over 5. That would be down 2, right 5. Now, make sure this line is dashed. So it's going to be the same placement, just dashed. And now, is it open or closed to your y? Open means greater, so you would shade above. You got it? Any questions? Simple? Now, this is a little bit trickier, okay? Watch. If you use the shortcut here, right? 5 times what is 10? Still going to be 2. If you cover now the x value, it still gives you negative 1 for the y. So we still have the same placement of the dots, right? Now, when we make our line, the only tricky part is going to be the shading. Watch. Is it open or close to the y? It's open right now, but when I solve it, let's see what happens. Minus 5x minus 5x, that gives you negative 10y greater than or equal to negative 5x plus 10. Because like Samantha remembered right now, if you divide both sides by a negative, what happens to the inequality symbol? It flips around. So now it's going to be less than or equal to instead of greater than or equal to 1/2 x minus 1. Now, where would you shade if you just look at this now? Below or above? Below. You get me? So, how do you avoid this work? Simple. If you use this shortcut, the last thing you look at is your y value. Is your y value a positive term or a negative term? If it's a negative term, what's going to happen at the end? You're going to flip it. You with me? If the y is positive, everything else doesn't matter. If the y is positive, are you going to flip it at the end? No. So that's how you can avoid this work right here, just by remembering what I just said. The term with the y, if it's negative, you're always going to flip at the end because the last step is going to be dividing by that negative. Clear? All right, try the next page on your own. Same types of questions, same graphs as one of the previous pages, but now you got to shade where it needs to be shaded and make sure the line is dashed where it needs to be dashed. Hurry. Pretty simple. So far, so good. I need to see you do one graph, Harold. A ver si aprendiste a contar cajitas. No, ahora. Very good. Profe. Now we can count boxes. Anybody need me to help them out? They're stuck? Let me know. If you're not stuck, trust in your steps. You all know right after I'm going to explain it anyway. So trust in your steps. See if you can do it without me. And everyone gets a clean slate right now. 4th 9 weeks, clean slate. You do good right now till the end. You get an A plus in here, right? It's not that difficult as long as you're willing to do the work. Nothing better to end the year with an A on a high school GPA class, because this class counts for your GPA in high school, even though you're not a high schooler yet. It started to count after the mid-year assessment. After the second 9 weeks is when it starts to count towards your GPA. So you right now have a high school GPA from only 2 9 weeks of algebra and 2 9 weeks of biology for most of you. Right? You all have biology? So that right there, along with my class, is your GPA for high school right now. And since you're in an honors class, technically you're going to get points at graduation for this. So like, for example, if I had a 3.0 GPA, right? I ended up with like a 3.6 every semester, weighted, because honors classes give you extra points. So believe it or not, being in here, being thrown to algebra in 8th grade helps you for your GPA later. Like my GPA was a 3.0 average, and my scholarship for FIU said 3.8 or something like that. And I didn't have a 3.8, unweighted. But when they weight it with your honors classes, give you all the points that you earned throughout your 4 years, it goes up. I don't know if you knew that, but that's big. That'll push you from no scholarship to scholarship. When Samantha gets back, you can go. 1 more minute, 2 more minutes, how much we need? That's not the first step. First step is taking away the x. Second step is dividing everything by the 3 that you were moving first. Remember, you want to leave y by itself, so you avoid y first. Okay? So minus 6x, minus 6x, if you're going to use that method. Okay? Maybe. You might get lucky and end up, but that's not what I saw. I'd rather you do what you did. Done. You got me? I'd rather same thing with you, Rosalind. Unless you're not comfortable with it. Easiest way is just cover this letter and solve, and that'll give you the x-intercept. So like 6 times what is 12? 2. I got a dot already. Now do the opposite. Cover the x and do the same thing, and then you get the other one. You get me? That's the quickest way to do it. And now you got to worry about is the graphing later. On this graph, everyone, would you shade above or below? Are you sure it's not going to flip? Good, because it's a positive 3y. It's not going to flip later. And so if the positive is in the middle, you're good. You know where you're going to shade. So that might be already the answer choice, because all of them are shaded above, and you know you're going to shade below. Everybody's done. Let's do it. All right, so the first one over here, positive 2, y-intercept, up 3, right 4. Now, solid or dashed line? Solid. Open or close to the y? Open, which means greater, so we're going to shade above. Over here, negative 5, down 2, right 1. This one's got to be dashed. And now, close to the y means less than, so you shade below. Below would be this area. Lazaro, I have a correction to make. Exponential is not next. Systems of equations is next. Which is the same thing we're doing now, but you're doing 2 on the same graph. So the solution would be where the shading overlaps. Remember we did that? But we're going to practice it anyways. Just like this and with index cards. All right, last one. If I cover the y, I can find my x-intercept. Because covering the y is the same as plugging in what for y? 0. That's why it disappears. So 6 times 2 gives you 12. That would be your x-intercept. Now you do the opposite. Cover the x term. Covering the x term is just like plugging in a 0 for x, right? So 3 times what gives you 12? Positive 4. Now, since that's missing the little stick, it has to be a dashed line. And now, open or close to the y? Close is below, less than. If that's positive, then we're good on that shading, below. If it was negative, you got to flip it, and you shade the opposite. All right, this is a good time to get it wrong during practice. All right, any questions on this page so far? All right, big one, big section right here. There's like, I don't know how many questions on the EOC like this, but let's guess between 2 to 4. And all you have to do is write the inequality and solve it. These are all similar to the questions we did together about the allowance. Remember the questions on the index cards that you get an allowance and you're making like a certain amount for babysitting or whatever? Same concept. Well, we'll get there. These are inequalities, so equal is incorrect, right? But you're on the right track with the numbers, right? If this was an equal to situation, then you would be correct on those numbers, right? But now it's an inequality, so same setup, but now we've picked the inequality symbol correctly. Follow my steps, I would recommend it, all right? But more importantly, that question on the EOC is the same concept. There's one number that doesn't need a variable. There's one that does. Anything that's an hourly thing or every or each, all of that is going to always have a variable. Are you with me? So let's read. At least $500. Once I read that, I know that the end of my inequality, the end, has to be at least 500. So all I'm going to do here is put the 500, and on the left side of it, I'm going to put my inequality symbol, right? Where do you think my variables are going to be? Over here, correct? So if I want it to be at least, that's greater than or equal to. So I need it to be open to my variables. So far, so good? Now just put the numbers where they belong. Let's look at the two numbers that we haven't touched yet. This one says fixed income of 200 bucks. Does that say every, each, anything like that? No, that's a one-time $200, right? The other number says $12 per hour. Once you see the word per, you know what goes there. X, any variable they choose, right? X, if we chose it. If they tell you use P for pebbles, use the letter P. You with me? So now let's do it. 12x plus the 200. How come it's plus 200? Because he's getting paid those 200. Are you with me? What if you were buying materials? Now it's a minus 200. So far, so good? That's it, because on that question, you get points just for writing the inequality. You don't even have to solve it. Are you with me? And then divide by your coefficient. Now, here's the big question. If you do solve it, like on the others that make you solve, and your answer is 44.1, what's your answer? What's your real answer? 45. How come you have to go up even though it was 44.1? Because you're trying to make it greater than or equal to. So it has to be that decimal or above. Are you with me? Simple? All right, let's do the other two here so you can try the other two on the other page on your own. So here, more than 450. What's that going to be at the end? Greater than 450. How come it's missing the stick? Because it didn't say more than or equal to. It didn't say at least. If it says more than, no stick. If it says less than, no stick. You with me? Now, let's figure out which one takes a variable. This one says 10 buses were filled. This one says 5 more students traveled in a car. Does it say how many cars? No, it's just 5 students that went in a car. 5 is a number that doesn't have a variable. So far, so good? Now, how do I know the buses have the variable? Because we don't know how many kids fit in each bus. That's why we need a variable for it. That's it. Because it says 10 buses. They put it in words. I know what you're saying, Samantha. Like, I did the same thing. I looked up for numbers. If you don't see it, there's a word that means a number somewhere. 2 or the word pair. Something that means a number, you know. Now, for part B, right, you have to solve it. So before we solve it, let's talk about this question, right? A question like number 1 above, right, would be worth like 6 points, let's say, right? 6 points, give or take. This one has 2 parts to it. That doesn't mean that now it's 6 points, 3 and 3. Because there's 2 parts to it, now it's 10 points. So it's 5 and 5. So multiple part questions are way better for you. If you had all multiple part questions, your points would skyrocket. You get it? So it's about ease. If it's not easy, it's going to give you more points. All right, let's solve it though. What are the 2 steps of solving that? Minus 5 will be the first step. That leaves you with 10x is greater than 445. Divide by 10 on both sides, and you get x is greater than 44.5. Are we taking half a bus up to Grad Venture? No, right? You can't take half a bus. So you got to round up to the whole bus, which is 45. Does it look about right? Yeah, 45 kids in a big old bus. That sounds right. What? You have a question? 44.5. ¿Cuál es el número que le sigue a 44 y medio? 45. You can't jump two numbers. You jump to the next number up. 44, 44.5. What's the next number up? 45. If you go 46, you're doing extra. It's too much. You're going to be wrong. Yes. Yeah, go ahead, Dixon. Yes. Well, wait, I'm going to do it on the board. All right, Elisa, 1. The answer is probably no. No. All right. Chances are you're wrong on this one, right? Because you're trying to do the same as above. You got to read, right? The words mean something here. So, Elisa won 40 lollipops, right? But she gave 2 to every student. If you're giving your lollipops away, is your lollipops going to go up or down? Down. So now you know it's 40 minus 2x. What does x represent? The amount of students he's giving those 2 candies to. Are you with me? So far, so good? Now we finish it off the usual way. It says she wants to have at the end at least 7, which means greater than or equal to 7. That's your inequality. Solve it to find out the value for B. So what are the 2 steps to solving that? Minus 40 on both sides, which gives you negative 2x, greater than or equal to. Minus 40 gives you what? Negative 33. Yeah, right? Now divide both sides by negative 2, and you get, what does 33 divided by 2 give you? 16.5, which means we have to go to what, Lazaro? 17. Yeah, on a regular equation, on a word problem, you can't flip it because the words were said. That's a very good question, Adrian. So on a word problem, you're not flipping the inequality. On a non-word problem, you have to. But here, they gave you values that represent real-life scenarios, so you have to guide yourself with those real-life scenarios. Okay? So the answer was 16.5, so we went up to 17. All right, try the page behind it on your own. I'll give you a few minutes. Same concept. 3 questions. The first part is write the inequality. Second part is solve it. It's clearer on your paper than my board, so just go ahead and do it on there. If you need me to check it for you, just call me over. I'll check it for you. Read the words, though. The words tell you immediately which one has a variable, which one shouldn't have a variable. Wait, let me see the inequality symbol. Yeah. Good job, Harold. Most people got that one wrong last period. This question gave issues last period. ¿Qué? Sí, si es dinero, para donde dice dinero. Ahora, si tiene 3 decimales, para en el segundo, porque dinero para in the hundredth place. Okay? Lazaro asked a valid question. Since it's money, right? You use a decimal. Now, I haven't looked at the question yet, Lazaro. Let's look at it together. Is the question they're asking about, the X value, a monetary value, or is it an amount of something? 5 composition books. So what are they, if they tell you the amount of composition books, they want to know what? The price. So it is money. But be careful because sometimes X is like seconds. You get me? You don't want decimals for seconds, especially not in the hundredth place. So I'm just, yes, this time put decimals on that one because they want money. But always double check because they don't always want money. You're welcome. Because they could have said it's this much per, what is it about? Magazines, composition. It could have said it's $3 per composition book. How many composition books are there? Now they're asking for how many. It's not a decimal situation. Mhm. That's good. Just which one of these deserves a variable? Look over here. See how it says some pencils and an eraser? An eraser is, let me show you though, this little key here, because I didn't even catch it earlier today. An eraser means how many erasers? That means there's no variable on it because it's only one. So now you know the 2.25 is where your x should be. Same reason why up here you only put $4 for the magazine, because he's only buying a magazine, which is one magazine. You with me? Same thing here. He's only buying one eraser. So the variable goes on the pencil price, not the eraser. The eraser is just going to be $1. Hmm? Minus 5, 21, yeah. Now rounded to, it says less than 26, so it has to be less than that. So it's actually 5. Yeah, just backwards. Like this symbol. If you wrote like that, it's fine as long as it was facing correctly, you know. So now, since it says less than 5.25, can you go to 6? You gotta go to 5. So I gave a little hint for the first one there, right? If your answer was a decimal and the question says less than, now you can't round up. Where do you gotta round? Down, the blue bag for a calculator. Mm-hmm. Calculators in the blue bag there, Harold. Mm-hmm. There's no more left? I'll find one for you. Hold on. Which one? ¿Cuál? Esto es más, sí, sí, sí. Ahora resuélvela. ¿Está bien? Esa está correcta. Ujú. Pero aquí no es inecualidad, dame el 16 nada más. Aquí es inecualidad, aquí dame el número nada más. 16. Right? Porque la respuesta no era 16, la respuesta era un decimal. You know? So no, desaparece todo menos el número que vas a usar. Uh, oh my goodness, I forgot about this one. Untouched. Pristine. You got my. Oh, you got one already? Where'd you find that? Oh, nice. Nobody needs a calculator? This one's pristine, never been used. I know, but the last one that you touched broke. It broke. The 8 didn't work. Mister's calculator's broken. I have to blame someone. Take it. Take it like a champ. I'm just messing with you. Get it done. Get it done. Show me you got it. Hmm? They're all the same, so you need help on all of them. It's the same as what I explained on these two. Look for the words that mean they need a variable, right? So it says 18 students rode cars. It doesn't say they're filling cars, right? That means the 8 is the one with no variable. So put plus 18 right there with a plus in front of it. In front of it, not behind it. So plus 18. Very good. And now the other one is the variable number. So it's 5 buses. No, that's not. That's the 250 you already put there. The other number is 5 buses. So it's 5x. That's it. That's your inequality, and now you solve it. One more minute, 2 more minutes. Let me know if you're stuck. No more than. Yes, less than or equal to. You need help? No? Let me know. Harvey? Very good, yeah, that's correct. Subtracted wrong. That's 232. The same as below. Look, less than 26. So where do you know the end of it? You with me? Magazine, $4, and it's only a magazine, which is one magazine. So it's plus 4, no variable on the 4 because it's only one magazine. 5 composition books, 5x. You solve it and you're done. Same thing here. No more than, so it's less than or equal to 5. Eraser, one eraser, $1. You get it? Same concept. You're welcome. What do you mean, solving it? That's correct. Now solve it. Subtract 4 from both sides and divide. It's a two-step equation or inequality. hmm Yeah. There's no more than, which means less than or equal to. That's correct. Now put eraser is $1 and it's only an eraser, which is 1. So plus 1 here, plus, and then the one after. And then the variable goes on the 25 cents, 0.25x. How do you know? Because it says 25 cents each. Each means multiplication. That's where your variable goes. You got a question?
Pero tal vez sí. Tal vez sí está bien.
¿Está bien?
Oh, sí.
La última. Sí, está bien. What? The only mistake is that you put -1 when it should be +1. Like he bought the eraser. You get me? You don't get a discount for buying more stuff. You get your bill added onto. So that would be a +1, which changes this to -1, and that to a 4. And you'll get the right answer once you do it divided by 4. Once you divide 4 by the 0.25. What? This? Yeah, this is your answer, right? So you need less than or equal to okay, less than 5.25. So it's what? 5, not 4. You don't go all the way down to 4. You go down to the nearest whole number. You get me? Yeah. All right, let's do it on the board. On the first one, the first thing you can do is your inequality symbol. Less than $26. So this should end with less than 26. Put it away or it's my gift. So over here it says a magazine, 5 composition books. So a magazine means you know it's only one magazine being sold. So that $4 has no variable on it because it's only one. Now over here, 5 composition books. That would be where your variable goes. How come? Because we don't know the price of each composition book. So that's what we're trying to figure out, the price. You with me? Now you solve. Two-step inequality. -4 on both sides. That gives you 5x is less than 22. So far so good? Now divide both sides by your coefficient. And you get x equals 4 point something, right? I mean less than or equal to. Or less than 4.4. Now, where do you have to go, up or down? Incorrect. Less than. Is going up going to give you a number that's less than our answer? No. So we need to go down to quattro. Because your inequality symbol was what I looked at. I probably messed up looking at your inequality symbol. Yeah, I told Samantha the same thing. Don't worry. What? Be quiet so I can hear the question. Yes? Why did the 5 get the X? Because it says 5 composition notebooks. How much is each one? You don't know. That's why there's an X there, because you got to find out. Yeah, because magazines is only one. So there's nothing missing there. Magazine, we have everything we need. The price of 4. So for those of you that put the 5, right? When it's less than, you round down. When it's greater than, you round up. No matter what. No matter what on the inequality. As long as it's a word problem, you have to do this. Up if it's greater, down if it's less. Just like on the allowance questions that we practiced on. And babysitting and fishing, whatever. I changed them around, but they're all the same. Inequality, 2 steps to solve it. All right, number 2. It says uneraser. Uneraser means how many of them? 1. So we already know it's going to be plus $1 towards the end here. Now, 25 cents is what pencils cost each. So you put an X on 25 cents. Now it says you can spend no more than, which means what? Less than or equal to $5. And now you solve it. The first step to solving this would be -1, which gives you 25 cent X is less than or equal to 4. Now you divide both sides by 0.25 and you get 16. No rounding there, no need. The answer is 16. So far, so good? All right, over here, 18 students rode in cars. That's no variable, because that's just a quantity of students and they're not being split up into a certain amount of cars. The other one says the rest is filled 5 buses. So now I know that the 5 has the variable. Now let's put our inequality symbol in our total. It's 250 students and it says no more than. So it has to be less than or equal to your 250. Now you subtract 18 from both sides, which gives you 5x less than or equal to 232, not 242 like I saw in some papers around here. Now you divide both sides by 5, and you get what decimal value? Somebody else verify it. What's the decimal? 46 point? I want to verify. All right, now it says less than or equal to, so that 46.4 goes down to 46. So far, so good? Pretty simple? All right, next page. Once you put the answer, next page. We're almost at the end here. 2 sections left. Parallel perpendicular, which is this page, and line of best fit, which is something we skipped. Line of best fit is something we skipped during the data chapter, because it's actually a linear situation, but it's on the data chapter. So I always save it for review, because a lot of people get confused with the question. They sound complicated, and they are not. Very easy. All right, so on the first one, you're going to recognize this stuff because we did this lesson this year. All right? Parallel, when lines are parallel, they have the same slope. Are you with me? So same. When 2 lines are perpendicular, they have the exact opposite slope, which means negative reciprocal. What does that mean? Flip it and change the sign. You got it? So let's do the top section first, which is parallel. You're going to grab the original equation, y equals 3x, and instead of the -2 that they give us, plus b. And now we need to solve for a new b. How do you do that? By getting the point they gave you and plugging it in for x and y. Which one of these is the y? 2. So it's 2 equals 3 times 3 plus b. And now we solve. What's 3 times 3? 9. So the one step to solve this would be subtracting 9 from both sides, which gives you b equals -7. Now I can write my final answer. My final answer, y equals what? 3x minus 7. So far, so good on that? Same thing on number 2. Y equals 2 over 3x plus b. Does it matter what the original b was? No, that could have been 1,999. I'm still going to erase it and put b. Yes, but we're switching that number for b. That's what we just did here. You're switching that number for b. That is your first step on all of these questions. And now we plug in the x and the y, where x and y are. So 4 is the y, it goes here. And -9 is the x, it goes there. Now, -9 times 2 is -18. Divided by 3 is -6. So what we have is 4 equals -6 plus b. Now, you want to get b by itself, so what number do you have to move? The -6 by doing what to it? Plus 6. That leaves you with a new b value of 10. Now we're ready for our new equation. Y equals what? 2 over 3x plus 10. You guys get it? It's similar to a lesson we did last week when we were doing the activities. If they give you 2 points, how do you find the full equation? Y equals mx plus b, you find the slope, plug in like we're doing right now. There's like 3 questions probably on the EOC of parallel and perpendicular. Pretty easy to get right if you just remember this first step. All right, over here. See how that's in standard form? What I want you to do here is move it. So minus 3x minus 3x. That's your first step. Bring down what you have. 4y equals -3x plus 12. So all I did is subtract 3x. Now, why can't I put the 12 together with the minus 3x? Because 12 has no variable, no x. You with me? Now you're dividing everything by your coefficient, no matter what it is. In this case, it's positive 4. Y equals -3 over 4x plus 3. Now we can start the steps that we did on the first 2 questions because we have it in the right format. So over here, we switch the 3 for what? We switch the plus 3 for what? Plus b. And now we plug in -4 for x and the y value, which is 7 for y. So far, so good? Now, -4 times -3 is positive 12. Divided by 4 equals 3. So this is 7 equals 3 plus b. Last step to get b by itself would be subtracting what? 3. So you subtract 3 from both sides, and that gives you b equals 4. So my equation, same thing we had right here before we switch it to a b, but now we put the new b in there, plus 4. Any questions? This is one of those IXLs that 2 people out of the whole class finish because it takes long and you don't want to do the work. All right, everybody copied it? Last 3 on the bottom here. The steps are the same here, except you can no longer use the same slope. You're going to use the exact opposite slope. So same steps here, y equals, but instead of -2, what are you going to change it to? 1/2. Very good. Flip it and change the sign. So 2 over 1 flipped is 1 over 2. Negative turns to positive. You with me? So flip it, change the sign. Very good, Amaya. Now put plus b at the end and do what we did before. Plug in the 2 for x, negative 1 for y. What's 2 times a half? 1. So what we have now is negative 1 equals 1 plus b. You subtract 1 so we can get the b by itself, and it leaves us with b equals negative 2. So my equation, my final answer over here will be what? Okay, then what? Minus 2. Are you with me? Same as before, except you're doing what? Flipping it and changing the sign. Thank you, Rosalind. You guys get that? Any questions so far? All right, let's try this one. This one's in point slope format, right? Which we don't work with a lot in this class, but more importantly, the slope on point slope is the one touching the parentheses. So we're going to do the same thing without touching everything. So how do you flip negative 2 over 3? It turns into what? Positive 3 over 2. And now we're ready to solve this thing. Distribute 3 over 2. 3 over 2 times x. 3 over 2 x. 3 over 2 times negative 2. Negative 3. Bring down your y plus 4. Now is y by itself? Not yet. What do we got to do to get it by itself? Minus 4. If you subtract 4 from one side, subtract 4 from the other, and now we have the real answer. Y equals 3 over 2x. What's our new y-intercept? Negative 7. Because negative 3 minus 4 gives you negative 7. Are you with me? So don't overthink it if they throw something in point slope for you. At you. All you're going to do is the same thing we did above. And work with what they gave you. No, that has nothing to do with it. You're always going to flip and change the sign. It's not when is this, when is that. You always flip it and change the sign if you read the word perpendicular. So if it was positive, it turns to negative. If it was negative, it turns to positive. Either way, it flips. Are you with me? Yes. What? No, we're going to teach the class the way we teach the class. If you have a better way, do it. Do it. But this is the best way to teach this class so they remember it. Trust me. So far, so good? All right, over here. What should we do first? What? Why? What? Oh, yes. Good eye. Oh, now we got to. No, but you said, didn't we waste our time there? That's not what you said. Now I get what you're saying now. But you think your initial words were, didn't we waste our time doing that work? No, we needed to do that work to get to that equation. You trust. All right, everybody focus here. We needed to do all this work, a la fuerza, to get to this equation. Now that you have this equation, treat it the same as number 1 and 2 over there. Y equals 3 over 2x plus b, and plug in where it goes. What are you plugging in where here? No, of course not. Absolutely not. No. And now plug in your values. Negative 2, 4 for x. Now, there's 2 questions on the EOC for sure, at least, that your equation has a fraction in it. So if in one case you get a fraction, it's okay. Leave it as part of your answer, as long as it's simplified. All right? So let's solve this. This gives me 12 divided by 2, which is 6. So what do I got to do to both sides here? minus 6, which gives you b equals negative 8. Now we have the real equation. Y equals 3 over 2x minus 8. Good eye, Lazaro Mia. Good eye. So far, so good. Copy it down before I erase it and show you the last one here on the parallel and perpendicular side. All right. First step for number 6 would be what? Minus x. Remember, you want to leave the y there, so you want to avoid the y first. So bring down negative 6y equals negative x minus 2. And now you can divide everything by your coefficient, which is negative 6. So that gives you y equals 1 over 6 x plus 1/3. Okay, hold it. Now we write what? What? Almost. We write y equals negative 6x, and what at the end? Plus b. Now plug in your values right here. 6 would be the y. X is negative 5. So now we solve. What's negative 6 times negative 5? Positive 30. Please stop getting that wrong. That's easy. A negative times a negative is a positive since 3rd grade. Let's remember that. Minus 30 minus 30. That gives you b equals negative 24. So now my final equation, y equals negative 6x minus 24. Now, easy to get this wrong if you forget that a negative divided by a negative here turns to a positive. So be careful. Make sure you remember to simplify the sign situation on the slope and the y-intercept. Good so far? All right, flip over. All right, let you try this on your own for 5 minutes. This is just a parallel perpendicular quick quiz. So it's just 4 questions. It was 6. I took 2 out. 4 questions. Yeah, everybody that asked me today, do not ask me tomorrow. You don't get a break every day from algebra. So it's the same faces every day asking. Don't let me see your same face tomorrow because the answer is going to be no. But it's an emergency, then you should have gone before. I'm warning you before so you don't think I'm mean. Imagine whenever I was tired, I'll be back later, guys. I need a 10-minute break and I walk out. You'll never learn in here. If I treat you the way you treat me. Try to answer these questions. It's just 4 and they're multiple choice. Minimum work. Minimal work. Samantha, get it done. Step 1 might get you the answer here. Look at the answer choices before you work it all the way down. So the first one says perpendicular. How do you know if it's perpendicular? If the slope is what? Flipped and change the sign. So we have positive 2 over 5 up there. What should be the slope? 5 over 2 negative. How many choices do we have with 5 over 2 negative on it? Just 1. Right? This is how the EOC is. You're going to realize step 1 can get you to the answer. So look at the answer choices. Let me see it. That's the y-intercept. That's doing the same steps we just did on these questions. Be like, right here. So now you write y equals negative 2x plus b. And now plug in negative 2 for x and 2 for y. Very good, very good. You did that right there, Maya, with like 3 less steps than everybody else in the class. You do a lot of stuff in your head. That's good. Very good.
Me trabé.
Hmm?
Me trabé aquí.
Okay, it says parallel or perpendicular.
Um,
Did Let me read yours. It's the same question, right? Parallel. Oh, it says perpendicular. You're good. Uh huh. Did you do this page though? Okay, you're good. This is parallel. -2, so it's -2 over -1, so it's +2. Perfect. Ajá. ¿Cuál es la pregunta?
no sé
¿No
la
sabes?
respuesta.
Sí, porque la Y no está sola. 2 por X,
Dos por
positivo 2X. Esa es la única que te va a dar positivo 2X. Negativo, porque
Oh,
¿entiendes? Cuando resta te va a dar negativo. You see it, Mike? Oh, that's what it is.
equivalente.
I knew it. See, that says parallel. That's when you use the same slope, right? So what would be the slope of this?
I don't know.
Well, let me show you with the pencil. So we would do, remember, the same 2 steps. -2x on both sides, which gives you -y equals -2x minus 1. Now you divide by -1. Negative divided by negative turns to positive. So this is the equation I'm looking at. And now parallel means same slope. So we need the same as +2, right? So over here, if I subtract 2x from both sides, it's going to be -2x. So that's why it's not that one. Over here is -1/2. That's not +2, right? On this one, see how it's -2? Can't be that one either. So we can scratch off A, B, and D. And now this is the answer. Let me show you why. If you distribute the 2, what's 2 times x?
2x.
Exactly what we have here. You get me? There you go. Look at this one. What? 2 steps again. Pay attention because we just did this 6 times in a row. Subtract 2x from both sides. Do it so you don't like forget. Because then you're just going to copy it and then the same is going to happen. You're not going to know what you just did 6 times. -2x minus 2x. Negative y equals -2x minus 1. And then you divide by your coefficient. Then you get the actual equation. So same 2 steps. Take away the x, divide by your coefficient. Always. And now do the same thing. Parallel means same slope. So you're looking for a +2 slope from these answer choices. Only one gives you a +2 slope.
Dice algo más para que me den negativo y aquí dice que son positivos.
¿Qué? Es negativo.
¿Y por qué sale positivo ahí?
Pon menos, no te preocupes. Porque siempre es plus B. Y se cambia a un minus si es un minus. Ujú. What? No. El problema es que tú metiste positivo 2 aquí y es negativo 2. So eso te va a cambiar esto a positivo 4 y esto a -4. You stuck? Call me over. Flip it, change the sign because it says perpendicular. Number 3, it says perpendicular, so just flip it, change the sign. With what? Hmm? Yeah, I have the answer, but I'm not just going to give you the answer. It's going to be +1/2, so it should be negative. The reason why you're not understanding it is because you stopped working for some reason. If you finish the work, you would know that it's a positive. But if you stop halfway through and don't show me the rest of the work, you're going to be wrong or be stuck like you're stuck now on some silly stuff. That's wrong. Plus B. Remember, you put a plus b and you solve. It's what we've done in the last 6 questions. That's why it's try it on your own, because it's the same as we just did. Some of you guys are just doing random steps just to do them. Like, the whole purpose of showing you 6 in a row is for you to follow those same steps on those questions. Some of you guys are doing random things that were on previous lessons and... Hmm? No, you have it correct already. That's it. That's it. Perpendicular means opposite slope, which you did already. So look for the one with that slope. There you go. All right, I'm going to start reviewing anyways because we pretty much should be done unless we're overthinking these questions. So on the first one, perpendicular means exact opposite. So you have positive 2 over 5 slope. Flip it, change the sign. Now we know the new slope we're looking for. So the answer is B. The second one says parallel here. That means same slope, not opposite like it did here. Parallel is the same slope. So over here, we don't know the slope yet. We have to subtract 2x from both sides and then divide by our coefficient, which is -1. That gives you y equals 2x plus 1. Now I have a starting point. Parallel means same slope, so I'm going to grab that same slope and switch the y-intercept to plus b. And now we just plug in the values they give us, if they do give us that. In this case, you don't have to figure the whole thing out. Just figure out which one has a positive 2 slope. Are you with me? So this one has -1/2 slope. No good. This one has -2 slope. No good. The first one is the y by itself. I'm going to have to do what to both sides? -2x, which means it's going to be negative. The only one that gives me a positive 2 will be this right here. 2 times x, positive 2x. All right. A private plane and a jetliner both fly over a park that is at -2, 2. So they give us a point and they say it's perpendicular. So perpendicular, you know, you got to grab positive 1/2 and do what to it? Flip it and change the sign. So it becomes 2/1 negative. So -2x plus b. Now plug in the values where they belong. 2 equals -2 times -2 plus b. Don't forget the first number is the x, second one is the y. And now once you solve, you would have to subtract 4 from both sides and get b equals -2. So now my final equation, y equals -2x minus 2. All worksheets will have a plus there because the formula is plus b. But if it's a negative, plus minus means minus. So you can just ignore the plus. So far, so good. All right, on the number 4 over here, the first step is subtracting x from both sides, which gives you -2y equals -x plus 4. Now divide everything by your coefficient because the goal is to get y by itself. Now this is important. Simplify the fraction correctly. -1 over -2 simplifies to +1/2. And then 4 divided by -2 is -2. So far, so good? Now, perpendicular means what? Flip it. So just flip it. 1/2 flipped gives you what? -2. The only one with a -2 slope? That one. Same thing though. Any questions? So far, so good. All right. I want you to skip this page. Let me look at the other one. Wait. Yes. Let's skip this page and do the last page. And this is how we finish off. So skip this one. Go to this one. It's just 2 questions. The other page is more of an explanation. So I'll leave that for like a bell ringer tomorrow before what we're doing. This is me showing you 2 examples of something you've never seen before, showing you that it's pretty simple. You can do it. All right, look over here at the first graph, right? Look at that blue line. That blue line was created by someone, right? The red dots are the real information. So if they took like a vote on something, the real vote was 5,6, for example, right? The red dot is the actual value. The blue is a line of best fit. It's like a give or take where those dots go by. Are you with me? So when you're making a line like this, I don't think they'll make you make a line, but if you have to make a line of best fit, only rule you have to think about is make sure there's the same amount of red dots above than below your line. So how many do you have above this line here? 1, 2, 3. How many do you got below it? 1, 2, 3. That means they did a good job on their line. We'll see. I haven't got to the question yet, but this is like making a prediction. So watch. Over here it says negative 1.7 is the slope and the y-intercept is 15.3. Are you with me? That is used for predictions. Why? Because real dots are not predictions. They're what? Actual values. Are you with me? So anytime they say predict how much it would be in the year whatever, you subtract that year from the starting point, and that's what goes for X. And you just use the calculator and solve it. Are you with me? So for example, positive or negative correlation is the first way they want you to describe this. Would you call this a positive correlation or a negative correlation? So what do you think correlation means now that we're talking about that? Correlation is a pattern, right? Which way is it going? This away, that away, right? Over here, negative correlation. So far, so good? If these dots were further apart, it's a weak negative correlation. Since we saw the dots are pretty close to that line, we can call it what? A strong negative correlation. Porque matemática de izquierda a derecha. So let's get to the important part here. What does the direction of the correlation mean in this situation? That means that the number of trees is going to what? It's going to lower for sure, but what is the final conclusion you can come up from this? Trees are going to what? Die, disappear. How do you know? Because it eventually gets to how many trees? 0. You with me? So those are the type of questions you're going to get. Common sense questions, right? What does this tell me? If this was the mammoth population before the whatever era, I don't know, the Cretaceous era, right? What does that tell you? That means mammoth after 900 years, what? Died, extinct, no more. Are you with me? If it was going up, can they extinct? No. So this is like the common sense questions you're going to get. Now these are the real questions right here. The last one we're going to do. So watch the equation here. 7.77 times x plus 38.8. So grab your calculator and let's answer the first question together. What are you going to put in the calculator if it says prediction after 7 weeks? What are you going to do? I've never taught you this before. You've never seen it. But somebody says, look at this table. Predict week 7. What would you do? You have to put the 7 in the parentheses. That's it. So do it in the calculator. What's 7.77 times 7 equals? Don't say it. Don't say it because we still have to do what to it? Plus 38.8. Now give me the answer. 93.19. So we're going to round off to 93. Unless they say round off to the nearest tenth, then you're going to put 93.2 because the 9 bumps it. You with me? So what do you think I'm going to do for a 10-week? Put the 10. So that's going to give me what? 116.5 or something like that. What is it? Huh? Yeah. You got it? Any questions so far? There's like 2 questions on EOC like this. Look how complicated that looks. Not complicated at all. It's all calculator work. And guess how many parts of the EOC allow you to use no calculator? None of them. It's all calculator. All right? Pack up. We're about to leave tomorrow. Bell ringer is the second to last page. And then you get to activities, index cards on these exact questions. You got it? I'm still not sure if we're going to group it or we're going to do it individually. I'll decide tonight.